Hello everyone, today we will be discussing about the conflict between the fundamental rights and the directive principles. We know that part 3 of the constitution deals with fundamental rights and part 4 deals with DPSP or directive principles. So we know that fundamental rights are justiciable, so they are directly enforceable by the court of law, and upon violation one can directly go to court. On the other hand, DPSP are non-justiciable, so they are not directly enforceable and they are just moral obligation to the state, right? So because of this there has always been conflict. So to understand this conflict we will have to understand 4 important judgments of Supreme Court. First, Champakam Dorairajan case of 1951, then we will have to understand the Golaknath case of 1967, then famous Kesavananda Bharti case of 1973, and the last one of the series 1980 Minerva mill case. So let's first try to understand the Champakam Dorairajan case. This was just after the enforcement of the constitution, and Supreme Court ruled that if there is any conflict between fundamental rights and DPSP, the fundamental rights will prevail. That means fundamental rights are superior to DPSP as they are justiciable in nature. But parallelly, Supreme Court also said that if government wants to implement some of the DPSPs, they can amend the fundamental rights. So accordingly, Parliament made 1st, 4th and 7th amendment to implement some of the DPSPs, right? Then comes the Golaknath case of 1967. In this judgment, Supreme Court ruled that fundamental rights cannot be amended, cannot be taken away to implement DPSPs. So fundamental rights cannot be amended. It was kind of one-sided judgment, right? So Parliament reacted with 2 important amendments. First, 24th Amendment Act of 1971, which says that Parliament can amend anything of the Constitution, including the fundamental rights. And if any bill seeking such amendment is tabled in front of the President is bound to give his assent. He cannot withhold or return the bill, right? And 25th Amendment Act of 1971 did 2 things. First, it taken away the right to property which was enumerated in Article 31. So it abolished Article 31 and it introduced a new article, Article 31C. So we'll have to understand this Article 31C in detail. See, Article 14 says equality before law, everybody is equal in front of law, and Article 19 says everybody is free to express through speech and assembly, association, movement, residence and profession. These things we have already discussed in fundamental rights chapters. These are enumerated in part 3 of the fundamental rights of the Constitution and fundamental rights, right? And Article 39B says that it will be the obligation of the state to promote equitable distribution of natural resources. So government will always try to distribute the natural resources equally in the society, and government should try to prevent the concentration of wealth, inequality in the society, right? So to implement these articles, Article 39B and C, if there is a violation of Article 14 and 15, so see, this 25th Amendment Act of 1971 introduces a new Article 31C, which is kind of a bridge between these 2 parts, right? So it says if any law seeking try to implement this Article 39B and C, and if it violates Article 14 and 19, that will also be okay, right? So it will be okay to compromise Article 14 and 19 for the sake of 39B and 39C. And if any such bill is passed in the Parliament, any court cannot question, right? So these 2 provisions were there in Article 31C. So in the reaction, Kesavananda Bharti case 1973, Supreme Court said that the first part of the Article 31C is valid, is constitutional, is okay, but the second part, which says that court cannot question about this kind of law, this is invalid because judicial review is a basic structure of the Constitution and it cannot be taken away. So the first part that says that Article 14 and 19 can be compromised for DPSP, 39B and C is okay, but any such law cannot be questioned on court. This part is not okay, so this part is invalid, right? Next comes, okay, one more thing you should remember that this Article 31C in the Amendment 42nd Amendment Act of 1976, Parliament wanted to increase the scope. It was first said that Article 39B and 39C to implement these two articles, Article 14 and 19 can be compromised, but later 42nd Amendment Act 1976 tried to increase the scope. It said that any DPSP, any article to implement any DPSP, Article 14 and 19 can be compromised, right? But in the Minerva Mill case 1980, Supreme Court said that the Parliament increased the scope and it is invalid, it is not according to Constitution, so it invalidated the extension, right? And Supreme Court said a very important thing, that Indian Constitution is founded on the bedrock of balance between fundamental right and DPSP, and the harmony and balance between the two is essential feature of the basic structure. So Supreme Court said that government should try to balance these two things, fundamental rights and DPSP. So there must not be any superiority of one thing over the another, right? So it try to balance these two. But what is the present situation? Presently, fundamental right enjoys prevalence over DPSP. So whenever in general there is a conflict, fundamental right should prevail, but we should also remember that there is an exception, 31C, which says that Article 39B and 39C can take away Article 14 and 19. So to implement these two articles, Article 14 and 19 can be compromised, these two fundamental rights can be compromised. So this was the conflict, overall conflict, and this is the present scenario, Minerva Mill case judgment, right? So I hope it was understandable. So if you like, please share the video and let me know your feedback in the comment box, and if you are watching this for the first time, please subscribe to the channel and check out other videos of the channel. Thank you so much.